Welcome back to the sweatshop. In today's video, we're going to be working on this 2012 Subaru Impreza. What we're going to be doing in today's video is we're going to be replacing the front struts. This is not the hardest of jobs, especially if you go the route that I am going, which is a complete strut that includes everything you need to change out your suspension. However, there are a few things you should know before selecting your strut and going this route. If you're looking for the absolute best longevity and OEM ride and quality, Subaru is going to be the place where you should get your parts. However, to my knowledge, I don't think they sell a quick strut or a complete strut. I know that they sell everything individually, which is a bit of a pain because the cost of getting every little part that completes a strut is quite expensive. However, in my experience, it is the best quality. Now, that being said, there are many manufacturers for quick struts out there. I have not used all of them, so I don't know which ones I would recommend for you. So far in my career, I've had decent luck with Monroe. A lot of people don't like them. KYB is also another good strut company. This particular one is something that the customer got off of Rock Auto. It is FCS. Never used them before. Hopefully they are good. They look to be decent shape. I mean, truth be told, most things now are made offshore in various countries and then all put together. So you just hope that whoever put the thing together and whoever, manufactured it was having a good day, because you just never know what you're going to get. Do your best to sift through the world of auto parts, check out reviews and talk to other people who have possibly replaced parts on their car that are like this, and that's probably going to be your best bet. What I like to do is generally talk to my parts guy, find out what they're selling, and see how many returns that they have on those particular items, and that'll generally give you a good idea as to whether it is a decent product. That being said, the most two common reasons as to why these things get replaced is usually the shock or the spring letting you down. We have a broken spring on the front of this thing. On the driver's side, that's the side I'm going to be showing you how to do it on, and the shock is usually the most common thing that goes. It starts leaking, and of course your ride goes all wonky. Now, that being said, it's not impossible to separate the components and do them individually, which is cheaper. However, I would not recommend doing it as a DIYer at home. The reason being is it is extremely dangerous. I do have a professional strut compressor. These are generally the ones you're going to use at home, and I'll tell you, these things are not your friends. They can be very, very dangerous, and depending upon where they're made, they can break, and when they do break, that spring, it can kill you. If it doesn't kill you, it's seriously going to hurt you. Yeah, there's plenty of videos now on YouTube that you can type in and see people hurting themselves doing stupid things with springs and tires and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully you heed the advice. If you don't, well, good luck, my friends. I wish you all the best. That being said, before we get started with today's video, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button as well as a notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. All right, first thing we're gonna have to do is open the hood, and then we'll put this thing up in the air, and I'll see you back there at the wheel. If you have the original lug nuts, a 19 mil is what you need. Oh yeah. If it's stuck on there, get yourself a mallet. There we go. If the mallet doesn't work, what you're going to do is get yourself a pry bar. You're going to pry between the bowl joint or the control arm at some point and the wheel, and that should break it loose. Off in the distance there, you can see a 12 mil bolt. What you're going to do is just wiggle this guy on here, get rid of your brake holes. It's important that you don't forget that stuff, because you don't want to, hold your strut and try to figure out how you're going to remove that hose. Not fun. I love Canada. The Rust Belt always makes jobs so much fun. On the other side, we have our ABS line. It is held in by 4 little tabs. You can see them there. Actually, the camera's in my way again, so a bit hard for me to see them. You're just gonna force them down slowly and gently as you try to wiggle this guy out. Be very gentle. These clips are important, and zip ties aren't the best solution. It can lead to headaches later on, because zip ties tend to break, especially when you use the cheap Chinese ones, which are the ones that are most abundantly available now. It's kind of hard to get good quality stuff anymore. Anyhow, now let's go back to the other side, and we will mark this top bolt. In case you don't know, all top bolts on, I don't even know when they implement. I think as far back as like 98, 99, even on some of the legacies, 97 legacies, they had these bolts. That's the stuff that I started working on, so it may go farther back, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it is a camber bolt. It does adjust your suspension, so in order to keep it as close as possible, we're going to put a nice identifying mark. Unfortunately, there's no way to really mark it so that you can perfectly get it, unless you see, there's some guys who drill holes and stuff like that and whatever. Yes, that's all fine, but we are going to be touching the suspension on the front as well as the rear, so we're sending this thing for an alignment, so it doesn't make sense to jump through all kinds of hoops, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Just get the thing aligned after you do the job. Best thing to do. Now on the OEM strut, which is nice, there is an identifying mark here. You can see it's just a straight line up and down. We cannot, use that line because it's not there on our new strut. However, if you just hold this guy up at 90 degrees to the strut, or approximately what is 90 degrees, you can gauge as to where it is your strut will fall, or the strut bolt, and that should suffice and be safe enough for you to drive it to an alignment shop. Get yourself a 19 mil and a 19 mil wrench. You'll probably end up using a brake bar unless you have a heavy duty gun. Brake bar always on the nut, never on the bolt side. Same thing for the gun. These videos are actually tough to film sometimes because the camera, in order to get you the best shot, it's always in the goddamn way. Nonetheless, like I was saying in the previous clip, you always loosen these types of fasteners from the nut side. If you do it from this side, it is an excessive amount of stress on the head of the bolt, which can weaken it or break it. That being said, if you have excessive rust on this portion here, you can tap it with the appropriate tap. I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to guess here it's probably an M14 by 1.25 or M12 by 1.25. Of course, I'm not 100% sure. Do your due diligence there. That being said, if it's not a horrendous amount of rust, you can go ahead and spray some WD on it and you should be fine. There was no WD on mine. That was just rainwater. Well, power wash water, because I've washed the goddamn thing. Yeah, which is probably going to be a crime here in Ontario soon. I don't know if a lot of people know, but they are thinking currently of taxing rainwater. Yeah, that sounds just like a wonderful idea. We live in a wonderful utopia up here in Canada. It is just so wonderful. You get so happy to the point where you might have a goddamn stroke. It's just so spectacular. Anyhow, put this wrench down in there. You're gonna get a stand now and put it on the face, or the area where the top hat is for your rotor. I'm gonna hammer this thing off with the stand in place, and then I'll show you exactly where I'm talking about. They're coming up with a water tax. They're coming up, or have come up with a air tax. I think the next logical thing to tax Canada would be a sun tax. Yes, light. When God shines his light down upon us, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, we should tax that too, shouldn't we? Fucking morons. 19 mil. Let's run that guy out of there. Always put the bolt and nut back together. It's always a good tip, that way you don't lose them. Your next step now is going to be to get a pry bar and separate this guy here. Now, very important, before you separate your shock from your spindle, what you need to do is make sure you are supporting the hub, because if it falls forward, this wonderful guy that's hiding behind the strut, the CV shaft, will most likely get yanked out of its socket, and that can be a real pain in the ass to get back in if you don't end up damaging it permanently, depending upon how it gets yanked out. out a real pain in the ass sometimes. So let's get you a better view. This is where I have my stand supporting our wonderful strut and CV shaft assembly. What we're gonna do now is simply ease this guy out. You don't necessarily need the stand there as long as the strut, this assembly here isn't going to pull everything out. So we'll make a judgment call for that, and if it is going to fall out, we'll just tie a bungee cord to the top of the hub and then to the frame somewhere, and that'll be fine so we can wrestle with our wonderful strut. What we're trying to prevent is that CV shaft coming apart. Essentially, it'll pull the whole assembly out. I've seen guys try to do this repair and rip those boots, which is really not. It's usually when they have a ginormous pry bar trying to separate everything. It's stupid. But they can come out relatively easily, and then you can get them back in, but it can be a real pain in the ass. Okay, that's enough blah blah blah. Let's get this shit done. All right, let's try to get you a shot of everything here, make you understand what Jimmy's talking about. See, right here, it's not flexing. There is no movement, which is what we want. You don't want our CV popping out of there. You just want to separate this guy and move it across and out. Now, what we want to do is slowly let down on our hub to monitor what the movement is and see whether we need to support it. As you can see, it is slowly coming out there, but it's relatively stiff. It's in the place where it should be. Now, if yours starts to sag like this towards the outside here, what you're going to do is simply tie this guy up with anything really. You can hook it to anywhere on the frame. It's got a little bit of a lip here. There's, you know, stuff back there you can tie it to, whatever. All you want to do is prevent that CV from coming out. Now we can go to the top side and take care of our wonderful top hat on both those wonderful 3 12mm bolts. Our next step is going to be to get a 12mm, just a shallow on an air ratchet or a ratchet, doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to remove these 2 bolts here fully, and then we're going to tackle this one last. Before you go ahead and remove the bolts, make sure you verify that there's not too much rust on them, because they can break. And if they do break and the bolt is still attached, or they spin inside this top hat, oh my god, it is a nightmare. It doesn't usually happen with the Subarus, but in the Rust Belt, anything's possible. Now, very important, with our last bolt, we need to make sure that we have a strong, good handle on our strut. If you can't handle it properly as it comes down, and it comes down and hits one of your wires, like your ABS wire or your brake holes or your CV boot, you're gonna not be very happy, because that's just more money you gotta dump into your Impreza, which sucks. Grab a hold of it. Usually I grab it from the body of the strut. Get your wire out of the way, or your holes, whichever one's easier for you. Don't hit the tripod, and voila, there's your strut. I forgot to tell you that before you take it out, you want to mark your strut, just the top hat, to make sure that there are no differences. Luckily, with this particular setup, there are no differences, so you can shove it back in. But it is always good practice to make sure you mark it. Another thing is to make sure that you reuse these stock or OEM fasteners. They are much better. You can see this one here is a lock type. The aftermarket ones are crap. They don't really have anything to boast about other than the fact that they're new. So yeah. Now there is a left and right. Make sure you have the appropriate side. This one also says that it is the left based on the part number. You can see the L there. What you're gonna do is peel off any sticker like this crap. You don't want that stuff there because, well, there's no reason for it. And then just shove your wonderful shock into the hole. Oh, you fucker. Once you get it through the hole, just thread your bolt or nut into place. Believe me, it's a lot easier than it's a lot harder than it looks to balance the strut while you try to put it all together. Most of my head was probably in that shot. Oh well, whatever. Now I'll just run these guys up. Wonderfully. Go ahead, grab your torque wrench, set it to 15 foot-pounds or 20 newton meters. Good to go. Let's go deal with the bottom side. Okay, so to sandwich these two bits together, it is going to make your life considerably easier to have a jack or some method of putting this guy back towards the car like so. The jack is obviously most likely what you guys are going to have available to you at home. If you have a stand, that makes life so much easier. Now you can do it without both of those items. It's just a pain in the ass because you literally have to support the weight of this. You're fighting all this weight and suspension components that are wanting to go the opposite way. So yeah, invest in a stand if you don't have one and you do this sort of stuff. Take some of that weight off. And now I'm just gonna try and adjust it. Turn this wonderful thing around. Oh, we got someone on the Honda Raceway there. Okay. Now you can see how easy that is. Not hard at all. Once we get it slid in there, what I'll be doing is adjusting from the bottom side, and then we'll shove the bolts in, but you're not going to see me adjusting, but just know that I am. It's not magic. I get this guy to cooperate here. Send it up until it looks like it's nice and close. Looks kind of close there. Make sure whatever you do, you anti-seize the hell out of your bolts. We don't put bolts in dry. It's never a good idea. Nobody likes it. It's just bad practice to develop. Always put your bolt on. Now, if this was a stock strut, we'd be able to get the alignment basically bang on, but because it's not, well, we're kind of limited as to what we can do. The reason is because of that line that's missing. Oh, grab your wrench, wiggle that guy in. And what you want to do is once you get the suspension part where it's supposed to be, you get that nice mark as close to 90 degrees as you can. And then you're going to put your bolt on. Don't forget that wonderful washer. Very, very important. 19 mil wrench and fire. Verify that that guy's in its right place or close enough to it, and fire. Low torque ugga-dugga. You don't want to over torque it with your gun, which is entirely possible. Go ahead, grab your torque wrench, set it to 115 foot-pounds or 155 newton meters. Obviously, make sure that bolt does not rotate. Bottom one, if it rotates, just use a 19 mil wrench to hold it captive. Good to go. Grab your hose and slide it into place. It should go in easily. If it doesn't, you want to file down some of the rust that's around there. You can see there it looks a little cocked, so let's get this guy cooperating. All right, thread it in by hand always. Grab your torque wrench, set it to 25 foot-pounds or 33 newton meters. Of course, don't forget your wonderful ABS sensor. Make sure that guy clips in and won't come out. That is it. All we got to do now is put our wonderful wheels back on, take this thing for an alignment. Of course, I've got to do a shit ton more work on it, like the front brakes and rear shocks and an oil change and tire swap and a brake light. I think that's it. I believe that's it. Anyhow, let's fire these wheels on. Put your wheel on the car. Always thread your bolts up by hand. You never want to use a gun for this sort of thing. Just a bad idea. Force your wheel into the hub and fire. Now you can go ahead, grab your torque wrench. Set it to 90 foot-pounds or 120 newton meters. Thank you, God, we are done. Well, that's all she wrote for this one. All you got to do now is take this thing for an alignment, make sure your wheels are straight and all is well in Subaru land. That being said, hopefully you found the video entertaining as well as insightful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And as always, thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one. What we're doing in today's video is we are going to be replacing the struts. As you can see, I have two front struts on this fucking parts table. God damn it. Let's regroup, start that over again, Jim. So far, If you have the original wheel, grab yourself a 19 mil. The original wheel, lug nut, Jimmy, lug nut. Stupid. Oh, where'd I put my screwdriver? Fuck, it's in my pocket. You need to make sure that your suspension, when it releases, the knot, you have fuck off. I'm so fucking angry with reading the news in this country. It just makes me goddamn sick. You don't necessarily need to have the strut there as long as it's not gonna pull everything or the stand. Now, if you start to sag, oh god, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do it from there. Fuck. Okay, so. I fucking hate that cocksucker compressor, honestly. Whatever, it'll be a ratchet clip, so it'll go through. Oh, yeah, with the irritation of that piece of shit compressor. God damn it. Let's set this up again. Don't forget that. Motherfucker. Go ahead. Find out what the fucking torque spec is and then tell them. God damn it. We just had a tow truck out there for 20 minutes and now the compressor's running, you know? Just fuck off. Oh, where the fuck did I put that socket? Son of a mother. Well, that's all she wrote for this one. The last step is to go ahead, take the thing forward in alignment, make sure your wheels are nice and straight, your camber is set up appropriately for your... Come on, hoist. What the fuck? See? Not that hard. Relatively easy job. Fucking compressor. I'm stalling. This motherfucking clip is garbage. Goodbye. I'll be back. Well, that's all she wrote for this one. The last step is going to be to... You have... Fuck off.